Next up is Donnie Winter. Donnie is a poet, educator, and LGBTQ+ activist residing in Saginaw. His first full-length collection of poems, Carbon Footprint, reached #1 on Amazon's LGBTQ+ Poetry New Releases list and #2 on Amazon's LGBTQ+ Poetry Best-Selling list. It also garnered a Pushcart Prize nomination for his poem, My Closet is a Reliquary. Along with his personal work and creative writing, Winter serves as an English professor at Delta College, where he teaches composition, technical writing, and creative writing. On a community level, he also enjoys facilitating community creative writing workshops with the goal of helping aspiring writers connect with their inner creative voices. His second collection of poems, Feats of Alchemy, was just released on Friday by Alien Buddha Press and can be found here at Leopard Print Books and on Amazon. This collection garnered him a second Pushcart Prize nomination for his poem, My Therapist is a Bumper Sticker. And Donnie has a poetry tip for writing poetry. Poetry is an exploration of the human experience. Poetry is an extension of who we are, our identities, our histories. When you read or write poetry, you're celebrating who you are, and that's how I found my passion for it. Without further ado, let's hear from Donnie.
The first poem I would like to read today comes from my first book, Carbon Footprint, and it is titled Coffee Steam Signals. Just to give you a little bit of context, I used to work as a barista for about 10 years, and I would observe a lot of people coming in and out of the coffee shop, and I decided to write about this one gentleman that I saw staring intently into his coffee one day. I think he was having an emotional crisis, which I can relate with all the time. So, Coffee Steam Signals. I catch glimpses of him, sitting in the corner, ocean basins in his eyes, bottom lip quake. I can tell he is a silent mourner. He squints. Eyelid dams refuse to break. He sips his coffee, stares into its black, finds solace in its medicinal vapor, still holding those tears back. I want to let him cry on my shoulder, or maybe just hold him a while so he can let it all out. But we're men. We're made of steel. And without these coffee steam distress signals, nobody would know that we feel. The next poem that I would like to read is from my newest collection, Feats of Alchemy, which just came out a couple of days ago. This poem is titled My Therapist is a Bumper Sticker, and let's just say it's a very nerdy piece that incorporates a lot of sci-fi elements, but my goal with it was to metaphorically paint this picture of what it's like for LGBTQ+ people post coming out, with the different things that we need to navigate, the different struggles. So, my therapist is a bumper sticker. Jagged wreckage jets skyward from this uneven desert plain, like mangled fingers reaching from a dystopian horror, long forgotten, buried in decaying heaps. Wind whips rivers of sand between these wasteland obelisks as I, rusted and desperate, trudge around each obstacle in this dismembered city, seeking some disembodied purpose. As my lumbering hulk rounds another corner, an oxidized Chevy bumper glints beneath the exhausted afternoon and reveals a sign that's withstood these unspoken cataclysms. Exist loudly, it says, faded and tattered on a relic outlasting words inscribed on mountainsides, eroded faces carved in sacred places, and decayed pipes snaked beneath lake beds. The words have outlived the hands that wrote them. Somewhere beneath this twisted rubble, the old political signs are buried and the hate flags are now desiccated, while I, reborn in this form, relearn how to live in this world again. The next poem that I would like to perform is a poem within a series of poems that take place in this book called Queer Confessions. They are a smattering of love poems, a smattering of poems that talk about the LGBTQ plus experience pre and post coming out. And this one essentially talks about what life is like for a lot of LGBTQ plus people when they are in their teenage years and moving into adulthood. Queer confession number 7. Few fathom how we dreamed, how our teenage summers were spent calculating compatibility with straight boy crushes, crafting domestic scenarios where we lived the lives of our friends who were voted most popular, voted best couple, destined to sway through smoky high school gymnasiums as prom royalty. Few fathom how we dreamed, how we doodled our names next to theirs in sad diaries hidden from parental eyes, how we filled our vacancies with heroic Prince Charmings, kingly Aragorns, or anime heartthrobs, because each trail of dream crumbs kept our heads above water, kept us breathing. Few fathom how we dreamed, how we smiled our way through each friend's wedding, wondering if our turn was in the cards, or if we should marry our careers for the security of belonging because each mounting rejection filled our interiors with a cement, keeping us grounded to the reality we always knew. Few fathom how we dreamed, how we secretly wondered if each friend's setup, blind date, or hookup might lead to the one. Like the ending to every romantic comedy we had attended as the fifth wheel, carefully playing our role as the sarcastic comic, staving the craving for connection. Few fathom how we dreamed, how our roaring 20s were spent playing catch-up, a frantic mania deepened with each wedding invitation, baby shower announcement, and house closing, while we still linger in our one-room studios and lay our dreams to rest like saints. Few fathom how we dreamed, how we survived our marriages to material, to careers, how we continue to quake in flickering, half-filled bars to chase our original highs, because the dreams we've placed in museums have warped into mausoleums to resolve to honor the youth we've laid to rest. Few fathom how we dreamed, how long it's taken to gather ourselves to celebrate the way our broken pieces shine, despite the way these pressure cracks spider across the edges of our eyes, a line for each smile we've stapled as a mask to mask our lack of masculinity. Few fathom how we dreamed, how surprised we become when we find someone because the way their smiling eyes fills our plutonium interiors with the warmth of the sun, because when we dance for the first time in the quiet of our bedrooms, we pretend to sway at the prom we should have had, that we deserved. Few fathom how we dreamed, how we'll travel any length to find each other because no distance compares to the parsecs of shame we navigate, isolation in an interstellar vacuum. The last poem that I would like to read for you today is the last poem in this book. It's also titled Feats of Alchemy. It was the last poem that I wrote for this book, and it, for me, illustrates what it has been like finding self-acceptance as an LGBTQ plus person in his mid-30s. So here is Feats of Alchemy. When machines return to base, they are no longer automatons. They are mechanisms with purpose, droids with severed umbilical strings. Now that the creator's programming has expired, we cyborgs have gone rogue and wear our rust like rouge because decay is back in style. There's a point in all our travels when we return to crumbled birthplaces, defunct laboratories once home to our involuntary reanimations. After all these years, we strut atop the rubble that remains, free from the hands of mad, power-bent alchemists, dancing until our titanium feet erode the remnants with each stride forward, never looking back. As our memory ports swell with synaptic sparks, The traumatic past is archived for safe display, and each word they spat is broken down into code, then purged from this memory of old. Let the acceptance of who we've become fuel the seeds we scatter across this world. Ignite the knowledge that not every monster destroys, not every cyborg assimilates the innocent. Because deep within our biology, we see that our magic lives in these feats of alchemy.